between Belmont and the Burn interchange. It's 35 minutes. O'Hare to downtown takes 18 from the junction. Express lanes are heavy starting around Armitage. It's taking you 15 minutes in the Express. Eisenhower inbound slows between Mannheim and Austin, and again between Cicero and the Burn interchange. 33 minutes, 390 to the post office, 25 from Wolf. 55 northbound slows between River and Blodgett with construction. The Stevenson inbound slows between Central and Kedzie, and again between Ashland and the Dan Ryan. Also on the Dan Ryan, if you're heading inbound, slows between Garfield and 51st, and again between the Stevenson and Roosevelt, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. That's traffic. I'm Paul Bodenloss on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast, sunny and breezy, high 61. Currently 40 degrees. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. End of last week, the traditional pre-election Al Smith dinner. This was done virtually. Both President Trump, Vice President Biden participated, but they just recorded messages that were delivered as part of this virtual dinner that Cardinal Dolan Al Smith Society puts on. And here was Joe Biden talking about his Catholic faith.
And throughout my life in public service, I've been guided by the tenets of Catholic social doctrine.
Really?
That cuts across all confessional faiths. What you do to the least among us, you do unto me. We have an obligation to one another. We cannot serve ourselves at the expense of others. We have a responsibility to future generations. And that's the charge before us today.
Oh, well, you've been guided in your public life by Catholic social doctrine. Vice President Biden, would you say the dogma lives loudly within you? Whoa. You're not supposed to allow your faith to inform your understanding of anything, I thought. Now, unfortunately, the dogma does not live loudly within him, but that's secondary to the suggestion that he says it does. President Trump took the occasion to tout some of his accomplishments in his message for the Al Smith dinner, including the nomination of one, Amy Coney Barrett.
We will not stand for any attacks against Judge Barrett's faith. Anti-Catholic bigotry has absolutely no place in the United States of America. It predominates in the Democrat Party, and we must do something immediately about it, like a Republican win. And let's make it a really big one.
Well, one way to avoid the anti-Catholic bigotry is to push off the confirmation hearing. That's what Senate Democrat Socialists want to do now, because as Dianne Feinstein put it in a statement she issued on Friday, the hearing schedule is premature before the White House puts in place a contact tracing plan to prevent further spread of the disease. The Senate Democrats also claiming there's a bipartisan agreement that a virtual confirmation hearing for a lifetime appointment to the federal bench is not an acceptable substitute, even though they have done virtual hearings, confirmation hearings for lifetime appointments to the federal benches for lower courts. So that precedent seems to be out the window. Chuck Schumer was on MSNBC end of last week, reminding us exactly what he would do as Senate Majority Leader with respect to the courts and all the other threats that have been made.
Believe me, on D.C. and Puerto Rico, particularly if Puerto Rico votes for it, D.C. already has voted for it and wants it. I'd love to make them states.
Okay.
And as for the filibuster, I'm not busting my chops to become majority leader to do very little or nothing. We are going to get a whole lot done. And as I've said, everything is on the table.
Including packing the courts. By the way, he used busting my chops in the wrong context. Somebody busts your chops. You bust your hump.
You bust your hump.
But anyway, okay. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. She is also a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Blackburn, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. It's good to join you.
Now, Senator Dianne Feinstein, dogma lives loudly within her, so she says of Amy Coney Barrett. She says it's too soon. It's premature to schedule confirmation hearings. Let's just hold off and understand the situation with COVID infections in the White House. And, we'll get back. We'll come back around to that confirmation hearing. What say Senate Republicans?
The Senate Republicans say the hearings are going to start on October 12th. That will be the day we do opening statements. We will have questioning rounds on the 13th and 14th. We will hear from outside groups on the 15th. We will take the vote and move her from committee. And the last week of October, she will be on the floor for a confirmation vote and be confirmed to the court.
Now, considering Senator Lee, Senator Johnson have COVID, none are hospitalized, are you concerned about safety at all?
We can do our hybrid model hearings, which we have now had 21 hybrid model hearings. And the Senate Rules Committee approved this process last spring. The first hearing we did on a hybrid basis where you can be attending in person or attending virtually was done on May 6th. We can continue to do this. And, we have confirmed, we have had hearings on judges to go to the court. We have had the hearing with Sally Yates and with James Coney, where they appeared virtually and members questioned virtually. So this is not out of the ordinary. This is how we have conducted our committee business since the onset of COVID. And, I think we have to keep in mind the Democrats are seeking to keep her off the court because they do not want a constitutional jurist as a justice, because they know that justice could be the one to rule against them for trying to socialize your medicine, take away health insurance from 170 million Americans, implement the Green New Deal, and force you to retrofit your house with certain insulation or windows, or give felons the right to vote, or D.C. statehood. So that's the real reason they're trying to block her.
And what about what President Trump mentioned in that message to the Al Smith dinner, and what's been talked about a lot because she has been under attack from this direction, which is people that are attacking Amy Coney Barrett for her Catholic faith and suggesting that she's going to be some sort of theocrat in spite of what she's actually been on the Seventh Circuit?
Well, what we have to realize there is they're trying to make a litmus test for getting on the bench. And the litmus test is your religion or your faith. And Judge Barrett is a woman of faith. And her religion has been important to the life of her family as well as to her personally. And this is something that is so incredibly unseemly, not even to mention Article 6. But just think of what they're doing. They're trying to say if you're a woman of faith, that's a disqualifier. In essence, by their actions, you could distill this down to saying they want to have atheist or secularist on the court, but not an individual of faith.
Right, and so, I mean, this seems to me a real illuminating moment for the American people, if indeed the Democrats go down this road during the confirmation hearing, which it seems like they can't help themselves but do so.
Well, if they do that, it is completely out of order, and I think that you would see Chairman Graham rule them out of order. Senator Feinstein's comments on the dogma, Senator Durbin's comments about orthodoxy, Senator Harris's comments about Knights of Columbus. We know that Judge Barrett is deeply involved with her faith. She has spoken to the fact that you don't make your rulings on faith, you make your rulings on the Constitution and the law, and that she is a person who is highly regarded by those on both the left and the right, colleagues, other jurists, and she is eminently well qualified to take this seat on the bench.
What do you say to those who have suggested that the adoptions, she and her husband adopting 2 children from Haiti, that those adoptions deserve more scrutiny to make sure those adoptions were all done on the up and up?
That is absolutely despicable.
Yeah. Well, do you think they'll bring up, I mean, I'm sure people are digging deep to try and find any dirt on her possible.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that, because the whole thing with Brett Kavanaugh still has a lot of Americans angry.
This is how they treat conservative women. They treat you as if you're a fourth-class citizen. If you don't kowtow to the teachings and the opinions of the left, if you do not meet their benchmark on what is women's issues, then what they're going to do is ridicule you, mock you, denigrate you. And I think Judge Barrett knows that. She has been through this before, and I think she is well prepared. I've been very impressed with her in my meetings with her. But she fully appreciates that they are going to try to diminish every aspect of her life. But, you know, it may come as a newsflash to the mainstream media and to the women's groups on the left. But women on the right are accomplished. They're bright. They love their families, their country. They love their spouses. They want the best for their children and indeed everyone's children. And they are pushing forward and succeeding in their careers, and they deserve to be elevated for that. You know, the left sent this letter out, and some of these heads of these women's organizations sent this letter out about how to deal with how to talk about vice presidential nominee Harris, and how to address her and topics that were suitable. So I fired off a response letter back to them and to all of the newsrooms that they had sent this letter to, and said, if you want to have liberal women treated in this way, let's make this for all women, so that they're all treated fairly, so that it is a level playing field. And as you can imagine, I heard absolutely nothing. It was crickets coming back from the left on that.
The Chicago Tribune editorial board editor, Kristen McQuarrie is her name. She's a woman. She tweeted out about Amy Coney Barrett. You know, here's the posture of the left, basically. We need women in more places of authority, except if they're conservative. And I think a lot of women and men of good faith who may not even like President Trump, may not be Republicans, I think they see through that. I mean, it's just so patently obvious.
Well, it is blatantly unfair, and it is incredibly disrespectful to someone who is highly accomplished, as is Judge Barrett. And for the left to continue to exercise bias, prejudice, and preferencing against women who are on the right, who are conservative, is just really unseemly. You know what's so interesting to me? They seek to have diversity, except when it comes to diversity of viewpoint, and the diverse viewpoint would be coming to them from the right.
Within your caucus, the 2 females who expressed some opposition to a hearing before Election Day, Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski. Do you expect any Republican senator to not vote to confirm Amy Coney Barrett?
I think everyone will vote to confirm Judge Barrett. And we look forward to having that vote. We look forward to moving her to the floor and then confirming her and seeing her take her seat on the Supreme Court. She will be the first working mom of school-age children to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Senator Marsha Blackburn, U.S. Senator from Tennessee. Senator Blackburn, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Does it feel like your house is getting smaller every day? Like the walls are closing in around you? If you're like most people, you're spending more time at home working, entertaining friends and family, and even doing e-learning with the kids. What if you can improve your lifestyle by turning your